no further ado, I will like to introduce our panel here. J.D. Strong is a Senior Director of Industry Engagement at the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. It's a newly created role focused on engaging the fishing industry in growing participation and reducing churn. Prior to joining RBFF, Strong serves as the Director of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, bringing over 20 years of leadership in natural resources management to his work supporting industry growth and long-term angler retention. Now I'll turn it over to JD to introduce the panel. Please welcome JD Strong.
Can you hear me? Let's try this one. We'll just take this off. It's not great for bald people anyway. It's all scratchy on my head. You know, if I had hair, it would solve that problem, but I don't. So what do you do? So I'm J.D. Strong, Senior Director of Industry Engagement at Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. We've been in the news a little bit lately, but we don't need to spend any time talking about that. It's my pleasure to be here and welcome you to the last Lunch and Learn of this ICAST, but certainly not the least. We've got a great panel lined up to talk about what is the biggest threat to your business and what you might do about it. And unless you're not in the business to support fishing in this country, then you've got to be concerned about some troubling trends that we're starting to see, not starting to see, it's just worsening when it comes to fishing participation and anglers. And so we've got a great lineup here today. Hopefully my laptop will work. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, so apologies for that. But we're going to talk about how you turn new anglers into lifelong customers, which if you're in this business to stay, ought to be one of your #1 priorities. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to one of my cohorts at Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. That's Stephanie Vatalaro, who's our Chief Operating Officer, and she's going to talk about this troubling trend that we call churn and what you can do about it. Burn the churn is going to be our motto. So, Stephanie.
Bring this down a bit. Thanks, JD. Excited to be here. As JD mentioned, I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. If you've never heard of the foundation, we exist to bring new customers to your businesses. We're here to ensure the growth of the industry. We're kind of like that Got Milk campaign, but for fishing and boating. I'm going to talk a little bit about churn today. So I gave you my street cred, but now I got to give you my fishing cred. I'm here in my home state of Florida. This was a great trip in the Keys last fall, bringing in I know it's a baby tarpon, but we were on light tackle in the backcountry, so it was extremely exciting. I'm a lifelong angler, and I have a lot of passion for this work, so let's dive in. Some good news. Let's start with some good news. Fishing participation is up in 2024. It's up modestly. It was 57.7 million last year. It's 57.9 this year. But there's a lot of other positive trends happening as well. We had an all-time high newcomer number, people for the very first time that tried fishing this year. It was 5.1 million, and that was up from like 4.1 million. So a big, big increase in newcomers coming in. All of our kind of key segments for growth, you know, we look at female audiences, we look at multicultural audiences, people who aren't like traditionally represented in this activity. All of their numbers were up as well. Good, 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 happy, joy. We know that youth are still key to participation. 85% of today's anglers fished before the age of 12. And the research tells us if you don't get kids fishing at a young age, before that age of 12, it's very unlikely they're going to pick it up. So there's a lot to celebrate, as I said. But we have this huge problem that's worsening. And it's called churn, as JD mentioned. This is our little leaky bucket up here. We're bringing in folks in leaps and bounds, and those numbers are going up, but we're losing them even faster in a lot of cases. This just shows the number of people who have dropped out of fishing over the last several years. And those numbers at the beginning of the chart, that was pretty typical for a very long time. that kind of 4 to 6 million range. And at some point in the middle there, we saw a jump to the 9 million, and we were like, ooh, what's that about? Well, let's see if that's a one-time thing. No, then it was 9 million again, then it was 8.7 million. Of course, during COVID, so many people came in that we had that huge 14 million dropout. That was sort of an abnormality here. But the numbers have only gotten worse. They recovered a tiny bit, and this year we're at 16.6 million lost anglers. It's a huge problem. It's something we need to address in our everyday business, in our interaction with customers. Are we giving them what they need to be successful? So obviously it's about money, right? We all want to have successful businesses. We all need to bring in customers to buy the things and give us money to do what we do. On average, an angler spends $2,400 a year. So that's a huge number and a loss to your local businesses if you're not able to retain those customers. The impact that churn is having, if we could retain just half of those lost participants and get us back to sort of 8 million lost a year, we'd be at 75 million anglers and a potential 8.5 billion with a B more in revenue as an industry. That is an incredible opportunity. And as the coffee bean guy, if you were at the industry breakfast, it's challenging times right now, right? So let's be a coffee bean and figure out how to tap into this 8.5 billion. So knowing that this is a huge problem, we did a research study, a really extensive research study. It took place over a year and a half's time to really get into the minds of anglers who are dropping out and figure out what is it, when are they making that decision, right, to walk away? Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. A couple more stats on the importance of retention. Research finds that your existing customers are 50% more likely to try new products and spend 31% more on average than bringing in a new customer. You're more likely to make the sale with an existing customer, right? Up to 14 times higher. Increasing customer retention rates gives you an exponential return, okay? So a 5% increase can go up to 25 to 95% increase in profit by just retaining 5% of your participants. And the acquisition costs, you have someone already there, those acquisition costs have increased by almost 50%. So you're better off almost, really every good business plan, you should be recruiting, retaining, and reactivating customers. But knowing we have this retention problem, putting some time and energy there, I think is really important. And here's another stat just showing, acquiring a new customer is anywhere from 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. So, back to where I was a moment ago, sorry about that. Had a little brain fart. We did this extensive study to get into folks' minds and understand why they're walking away from fishing. What is it exactly? Because we have 1 million surveys that people say, does anyone want to guess what the #1 reason is people say they don't fish anymore? Just shout it out. Time, you're right. I mean, you could look at a number of different research projects and that question is asked over and over again and people say time. And I look at that as kind of a BS answer, right? Because we make time for the things that we love. So this study aimed to go farther, dig deeper. What's underneath that? What are the tensions happening and what can we do as an industry to make them want to stay? And we found kind of these 6 key areas were important to keeping anglers in the fold. Oh, I am just not well rehearsed up here. Sorry, y'all. #1, create a sense of community. I think those of us who fish know and understand this, that it's not just about catching the fish necessarily, right? It's about, it's learning, it's bonding with your friends and families and going out on this like epic adventure together, something you can talk about for years to come. So we need to create for these newcomers a place of community where they're learning how, they're getting connected to other anglers that they can start having these adventures with. Piggybacking. A lot of people in the outdoor space do multiple outdoor activities, and there is a huge potential in putting together camping and fishing, hiking and fishing, you name it. Find two things that somebody, has a fun time doing, and you're going to have better success of retaining them. You want to tie to higher order goals, things like health, well-being, social benefits. Again, if you already participate, you know this is a thing. You know that when you go out on the water, it's just like your zen time and all your stresses melt away. Newcomers don't know that, so motivate them with that information. You want to appeal to everyone's innate desire for nostalgia. And this is both forward and backward looking, right? So you might talk about how you went fishing with grandpa when you were a kid and the amazing memories you have, but also teasing that out there as like, you can create these amazing memories with your kids and your family and your friends now. You want to offer up fresh new starts and experiences. New Year's, make a resolution to try something new this year. Springtime, spring into a new activity. People are always looking for some kind of a new challenge or a new chapter mode. Let's get fresh and exciting. And use broader, more inclusive imagery. The best way to see yourself in something is to literally see yourself. They say if you want to be it, you need to see it, right? So showcase families and kids and diverse audiences in your materials so that they kind of go, hey, maybe that's for me. Now, a lot of these things, it sounds very simple, right? And the research, which I passed out some infographics, and you can click and get the full report there. There's a lot of more detail behind this. I'm just kind of brushing the surface today. But a lot of it ties back to that community piece, right? So let's talk about like goal orientation. We want to show how fishing kind of ladders up to those higher order goals. Here's a blog post from Take Me Fishing, 10 benefits of being in nature you might not know about. Pointing your customers to this type of information. Nostalgic appeals. Recall and create memories involving fishing to engage and re-engage. Double whammy, this is a reactivation strategy as well for someone who's fallen out of it. Maybe bring them back in. Here's your example of piggybacking, boat camping. I know my dad, who was a flats captain in the Keys, used to do this with his friends. They'd go out to the Everglades and beach the boats and spend the night and fish and had a great time. So use that to draw people who already have an affinity for one of these other outdoor activities into fishing. Partner with other companies or brands where you can make the two things happen simultaneously. And again, those fresh starts. People view new beginnings as a place to consciously disrupt themselves. So lean into that. As I mentioned, the research that I talked about in here, there's full details on all of it that you can click through to these. But I also have some infographics available up at the front if you want to come by and pick them up. The special report on fishing is our annual study we do with the Outdoor Foundation. Gives you all the demographic trends on what's going on, who's fishing, who's not, how people feel about it, etc. And then the churn research as well. So I'm going to stop there because we have some real life examples of what people are doing today to tackle churn and ensure a good customer base. And what better than to have those people actually talk about it and not me. So thank you.
Okay, saw some people capturing those QR codes, so I'm not gonna move the slide, you good? All good? Okay. So that's the problem, but with every problem, every challenge, there's an opportunity. And retailers in particular, when we talk about the need from this real deep dive into the psychology of people that are dropping out of fishing, what will motivate them to come back, or if they're new to fishing, keep them fishing. It's that real local level community experience that's important. And who's better to do that than the state conservation agencies, which I was head of Oklahoma Department of Wildlife for a number of years before I retired, and local retailers. They're right there, can fully equip and make sure somebody has a good time on the water, and those things are key. And so what I hope you will get from the rest of this panel is see that you're not alone in this. If you care about the future of fishing, you want to develop long-term customers, you've got a state conservation agency wherever you are that's equally motivated to tackle that problem. There are folks in the industry. We've got Major League Fishing here to talk about partnership in Kentucky. And there are resources coming online through ASA, which Mary Beth will cover towards the end of the panel, to help you, give you some seed money to try some of this stuff out, do some small experiments and see what works. So in this lineup, we're fortunate to have the Chief of Fisheries for Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, Dr. Mike Bednarski. I call him a unicorn because I was in the state government world for a long time, and there are a lot of fisheries chiefs and biologists that really don't like to even get up in front of the public and talk. They just want to be left alone to deal with all their slimy fish and fish squeezing. So Mike is a really great communicator, does a lot of work in Virginia, not just on the technical aspects of how you manage fisheries in Virginia, but also what you need to do to create new anglers and keep people fishing from a communications and marketing perspective. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
I'd just like the record to show that I had sent JD a picture of me holding a larger bass than that. I guess this is the one that he used. And the other thing I'd like to point out to the rest of you, that the only reason it says doctor in front of my name is I wasn't good enough to become a professional bass angler. So this is kind of my backup career. I couldn't cut it one way, but I want to give back, and I'm happy to be here at ICAST in this capacity. This is a real cool show, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So Virginia Outdoor Women and Green Top is just a small part of what I'm going to talk about. And one thing I want to demonstrate to y'all, so I'm the guy who runs the program in Virginia. I always joke that if you're happy with it, I work for Ryan Brown, give him a call. You're unhappy, give me a call and we'll see what we can do about it. A big part of what we try to do is just like you, we do market research and we try our best to understand our customers. And I use customers very specifically because typical government agency would say constituents. These are customers. These are the folks that pay my folks' salary. These are the folks that buy tackle. I'm very sensitive to that. We operate closer to a business than you might think. We're not a general fund agency. So we need to understand customers and opportunities just as much as the rest of you do. So I'm fortunate enough in Virginia, we've made an investment in having social scientists on staff. These are our people that study the people. And through that, we survey our anglers every other year and get a lot of information about it so we can help understand what the people of Virginia are like. So we know that 75% of Virginians live in urban areas. There's a lot of rural Virginia, but there's also Northern Virginia, Richmond, Virginia Beach, 8 million people. Only 11% of these identify as anglers. 89% of Virginians do not identify as anglers. That's a huge opportunity. I'd love to come up and tell you I had 45% of Virginians were anglers. I'd have a whole lot of issues with crowding, but that's a problem I'd love to deal with. We also know that 70% of those that identify as anglers reside in our two most urban regions. So even though they may not live in urban areas, they live near urban areas. That provides other opportunities as you're getting businesses off the ground, either to attract customers, as we'll see with Green Top, or to establish manufacturing and have people come in and work at your facility. We also know, and this is not surprising, and this is why we're going to talk about Virginia Outdoor Women, is 81% of Virginia anglers are male. Not surprising. It means we've got a great opportunity to attract women into this sport and get them out there. And we also know, and this is what I always think is interesting, there's some really great stuff here with boats, kayaks. I'm already trying to figure out how I'm going to explain the new power poles I'm going to get for my boat and that new forward-facing sonar unit and hiding the receipts. But 83% of our anglers shore fish. Even though our anglers may fish out of a boat, this is a huge opportunity to recognize that it's a lot easier to get somebody out on shore than it is to get them to invest in a boat, particularly if we're talking about folks who either haven't gotten out there or considering leaving the sport because of cost. And to that, we understand a bit about our customers. We also understand where some of the barriers are. You know, as Stephanie pointed out, the biggest reason we always get is I don't have time. I have made a pitch to our governor directly that Virginians should get a day off to go fishing. I haven't gotten any traction. I'm going to keep trying. I think there's some open mind to that. I'm going to keep pushing that one. But we look at this, 25% of anglers don't know where to fish. Now, mind you, this is coming from an angler survey, so this has already got a bias in it and who is interested enough to fill out the survey. So this number is probably higher with the general public. 15% don't have anyone to fish with. This is something we can work with to help create those support networks, and something you'll see with how we're trying to address this. But that's something we need to know. For a lot of people, fishing is a solitary activity, but for a lot of people, it's not. It's a social activity. 25% don't have opportunities close to home. People who are casually interested in fishing or considering getting out of fishing aren't going to drive 125 miles to get to that world-class fishing opportunity you have. I'll show you some ways we've tried to address this with the resources at our disposal. And again, 59% of those, even if they feel like they have opportunities close to home, proximity is important or very important. It's a tall order, again, at 4:30 in the morning to drive 125 miles to go fishing. If I can put fish in somebody's backyard, they're a lot more likely to get out there, and you'll see this is what we're trying to do in Virginia. And then 74%, so this is always interesting to me. It's very important that their target fish is present. This is, again, critical because with what I do with my program is try to create fishing opportunities. I need to understand what people fish for. I can tell people what they should fish for, but I think we're a lot better off to ask for what they like to fish for and work around that. Again, customer-focused approach to fisheries management. And with that, I want to touch on the fact that, again, 81% of Virginia anglers are male, and 15% don't feel like they have a community. We're trying to work through our Virginia Outdoor Women program to create women-focused workshops for outdoor activities. You know, for an example, next week we're doing a workshop on shooting at the Green Top Sporting Range. It's open to women only. We're trying to provide those spaces where women will feel more comfortable and build that sense of community. You know, I don't know about the rest of you. The reason I got into bass fishing was bass clubs. That's where my friends were. That was my community. I think we can build that community by taking these type of approaches, by bringing like-minded, outdoor-oriented people together in a space where there's other folks around there that are very interested. And we all can step in on this one. I apologize for my use of the word y'all. I do have a Connecticut accent. That's a product of living in Georgia for a few years. I apologize knowing that. I'm here for a diverse group across the rest of the country, so I am aware of how it sounds. But sponsorship opportunities abound, and one of our best sponsors has been Green Top Sporting Goods. Anybody passing up and down the I-95 corridor, stop at Green Top. I get uncomfortable advocating for one particular business because I'm a government employee. Green Top is about the coolest outdoor store you can go to. Strongly recommend it, and glad that they're willing to support us with these efforts because they realize that their customers are our customers. The more customers they have, the more customers I have. And Green Top's been a huge supporter of this Virginia Outdoor Women program and a great way to help build this community. And again, as part of that, to build on the concept of, I don't know where to fish, I don't have opportunities near me, et cetera, you know what? I got a solution to that. We've got our Explore the Wild app. What the Explore the Wild app does is it helps connect people to outdoor opportunities near them. This is very simple. I can hand my cell phone to my father and he can figure out where he's gonna go fishing. And this is a man who can't figure out his Garmin depth finder. If you guys have ever used a Garmin depth finder, I just throw out the manual and just wing it. It's that simple. This app is about that simple to use. And you plug in your information here, so just as an example, I know JD was having technology issues, so I didn't want to have the demo and have it fail and have to go bring tech support over. That doesn't help to demonstrate the technology. So this is off of our website here, so I can go in here, I can input info. So if I'm in Henrico, Virginia, I put in 23228, don't want to go more than 50 miles, and I want to fish for catfish. 30% of our anglers fish for catfish. You know, think about opportunities. It cost me $2.75 for a catfish. Somebody catches 3 catfish. We're invested $8 in that. That person buys $30 minimum worth of gear, all the travel time. This creates opportunity, gets them out. They buy licenses, they buy fishing tackle. So go to Bryan Park, go fishing for catfish. They're connected right there. You can find any of this information. And these fit in, and this is my last slide, JD. I see you checking the clock. With, And this fits in with our Fish Local Virginia program. So if we back up there, you see Bryan Park is tagged as Fish Local Virginia. What is Fish Local Virginia? Well, aside from being a catchy name that we use for marketing purposes, these are fishing opportunities in urban and developed areas in Virginia that we manage intensely to drive pressure there. These are places where we stock trout, we stock catfish, sometimes we'll stock surplus largemouth bass from a dam breach to make sure people catch them. We want people out there. And one thing you'll notice, Virginia is a very rural state aside from those urban areas I mentioned. They're scattered throughout the state. I challenged my staff to not take a Richmond-centric approach. The old joke in Virginia is that Virginia stops at Lynchburg or Roanoke and there's just 4 more hours of Virginia. I wanted to make sure that my staff got to weigh in on what they thought represented high-use, quality opportunities in their areas. So we have them across the state. Again, making sure that we're just not focusing on your traditional urban areas, but looking at places like Marion, Virginia, which are very developed for Western Virginia, but would be a small community in the eastern part of the state. And this is part of that whole thing about bringing the fish to the people. We stock trout in Metro Richmond in the winter. Trout can't live past the first week of April in that area. The water temperature gets up there. But we also recognize that not everybody wants to drive to Shenandoah National Park to fish for trout. And we recognize that if we can provide and connect, that's the other thing, connect people to these fishing opportunities in their backyard, we can help directly address those barriers. And as another shout out I want to put, because I have a lot of my colleagues here from the Fish and Wildlife Service, this work is directly enabled, so about 40% of my budget is funded from the excise tax that you all pay. So you all pay my salary, you all pay for this work. I want to demonstrate what this does on the ground and how we're taking a data-focused approach to providing a better fishing opportunity and a better opportunity to create, retain, and satisfy customers with it. Because we operate like a business just like you, and we take this very seriously. That's all I got, JD, and my other fish picture, that fish was 6.5 pounds.
Well, I'm an avid bass fisherman myself, so I can't have anybody with a bigger bass on the screen than I would. So great presentation. Again, I'm going to drill it home. You're not alone in addressing this challenge of keeping people fishing, developing long-term customers, which is one and the same, essentially. And you've got state agencies to partner with to do that. One thing I want to go back to and point out, so I love this. In fact, I said, when you present, you've got to show this, because this all evolved from RBFF and state agencies and industry people getting together to figure out how we can team up to address this challenge. And Virginia stepped up quick, ready to go to bat immediately. They knew right away Green Top Outdoors was going to be a great industry partner for this public-private partnership to keep people fishing. And so we have our first meeting with Green Top together. I mean, they've been meeting with Green Top for years, but our first meeting to talk about a pilot project. And we got a little sidetracked at one point in the conversation, and the Green Top folks were saying, you know, the number one question we always get in our stores from people are, where can I go? Where can I go to fish? And so Virginia, state of Virginia folks, DWR folks are on the call, of course, and they're like, well, we have an app for that. Did you know that? No, I had no idea. How's it work? And so they were like, you know what? We're going to send some staff down there. We're going to train all of your employees on this relatively new app that we've unveiled, how to use it, how you can show people how easy it is to go find where they can fish or camp or hike or shoot or hunt, all the outdoor things near you. And so it was kind of like this, well, that wasn't really the purpose of the call. It was to talk about how we developed this project, but it evolved into, you know, some really cool things. So just hooking up with your state agencies and communicating and talking about your common mission, which is to keep people fishing, hunting, shooting, boating, is an important thing. So we also talked to the folks in Pennsylvania about a partnership with Ace Hardware. Shields we were in conversations with about partnership opportunities in South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota. Lots of things starting to simmer now on this public-private partnership front. But one of the highlights, and you're going to hear it next, Major League Fishing and Dave Washburn stepped up and said, hey, I've got a really cool idea for a pilot project we could do with the state of Kentucky, their Department of Fish and Game, called Take a Parent Fishing. And so I'm not going to steal Dave's thunder. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. But Dave Washburn, of course, is the VP of Operations for Major League Fishing, to tell you about another cool public-private partnership opportunity to grow the sport of fishing. Dave.
Well, thank you, JD. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. As JD mentioned, I'm Vice President of Operations for Major League Fishing, but I moonlight as the R3 chair for ASA, so I think about recruitment, retention, and reactivation quite a lot. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this concept that grew out of our work with high school fishing teams at our annual high school fishing camp at Murray State University that we host every year. Every year we bring in hundreds of high school students and their coaches to our home base in Western Kentucky. We host them at Murray State. And while we teach these kids and their coaches and parents a lot about fishing, we learn a lot from them too. And one of the things that we learned is that they are uniquely positioned to lead R3 efforts in a genuine and local fashion. So all these anglers and their coaches need is a little structure. They need a roadmap on how to carry out successful R3 programs. And that is what we're going to talk about here with Take a Parent Fishing. They also need a little funding, which Mary Beth is going to preview a new program that we're excited to have through ASA and Fish America Foundation. So the idea is a first catch center in every community. It's Take a Parent Fishing, which, as the name suggests, kind of flips the script on the old take a kid fishing, right? The idea is to help our high school fishing teams build their own mobile first catch centers and allow them to run youth fishing events in their communities in partnership with local retailers and State Fish and Wildlife every year. From a funding perspective, this solves the problem, right? This DIY approach, do-it-yourself approach, costs a fraction of what a traditional first catch center costs to build and operate at the state level. And like high school fishing teams, local retailers have strong community ties, which the research shows is very important. Together, high school fishing anglers, local retailers are positioned to play an authentic role in helping us stop churn. And manufacturers have a role to play in helping support those retailers and encouraging to get into the R3 game. So it all starts in elementary school. Aside from a cost-effective program and the scalability of Take a Parent Fishing, let's be honest, having high school team anglers visit their local elementary schools in their jerseys has a bit of a cool factor to it that it's hard for other programs to match. It's like the local high school fishing team playing catch with the kids and then inviting them out to a sideline experience at the game. Which child is going to decline that invitation, and what parent is going to deny their child the opportunity to go to that when invited? So this, we believe, leads to success. The research is pretty clear on this. As Stephanie said, 85% of current fishing participants fish before the age of 12. And participation rates fell sharply after a child turned 18, making families with young children an important part of stopping the churn. If you don't start fishing early with repetitive positive experiences, you're not likely to become an angler. The window of opportunity opens early and it closes well before high school graduation. So we want to empower our communities to provide these successful R3 recruitment, retention, reactivation opportunities and to be leaders in this in their local communities. And Ron Southwick shared with me just the other day some great new research that the number one thing that gets lapsed anglers back in the game, it's pretty simple. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to go fishing, and that's what we're talking about here. So we hope to pilot this program in partnership with our local high school and Marshall County High School in Western Kentucky, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, and our 6 elementary schools to demonstrate the effectiveness and scalability of Take a Parent Fishing. We want to empower the high school teams to be mentors and R3 leaders in their communities. Just imagine the impact. We have 26,000, over 26,000 high schools in this country. Imagine the impact of those high school teams visiting 34 million elementary school students a year and inviting them to go fishing. That would definitely stop the leaky bucket. And so why does it work? I'm not a developmental psychologist, I'll admit that, but I am fortunate to be married to one. And when a child asks a parent to spend time together, in this case fishing, it's an immediate emotional connection. It signals a sense of importance to the parent and a positive reinforcement that time spent together is fleeting. It taps into the parent's developmental awareness that time is short, and then take advantage of the opportunity when your child asks you to do something, that time is precious together. And anyone out there with a child, any parent out there in the audience knows that if your child asks you to do something, that will definitely influence your behaviors. You will have a desire to fulfill that need. And we want that need to be fishing, get them out on the water. So we feel that there is an army of high school teams out there that are ready and willing to be R3 mentors. We just have to give them a little help to get started. And that's what we're going to try to do. Thank you.
What an excellent opportunity. I just regret that we didn't have high school fishing, as a varsity sport in Western Oklahoma where I grew up. Now I've got a nephew that's on the fishing team, and I'm jealous. Last but certainly not least, resources available to every ASA member to be able to do something about this churn problem, burn the churn. And we're very fortunate to have Mary Beth Long with us, who's VP of Communications for ASA, to talk about it. It's my fault that her video doesn't work, so I'm just going to lay that out there right now. We couldn't quite get the sound to work, but it is what it is. It's going to be a great end to a very great panel. So come on up, Mary Beth.
I didn't know they had my picture. All right, so I did have a great video. This was what it would have started looking like when I pushed play, but I don't have that ability. But why I wanted to play it for you is to show you all about kind of the cool opportunities that are available to get people out on the water. We took a fishing trip with our staff to grab content for Fishing Share the Fun. So we have this big campaign all through the summer where we're trying to increase participation and get people engaged. And obviously retention is really important, but it's also really cool and fun to bring somebody new fishing. And so my daughter had never really been fishing. So I partnered her up with my boss, Glenn, and they were on the same boat, and he kind of mentored her all day. And so anyway, the video is really cute, and it shows her fishing for the first time. And I mean, the joy you see in her face, and I'm sure when I asked her to go, she was like, oh, that just sounds terrible. But she absolutely had the best day. And it just brings to life why all this matters and why we care and why it's just really fun to get out on the water and be together as a community. So I'm going to try to advance this. Okay, so pretend the video's over, because it is. I really came up here to talk about some opportunities. We need to be able to tackle churn, and we could sit here all day, try to get a bunch of grants and get a bunch of funding, and we could try to build a whole program that does nothing but, burns the churn. But why would we do that when there are so many amazing programs all over the country, right? I hear about them all the time. Retailers have these cool meet and greets. They organize fishing trips. Some have evening classes for women. Some of them have fly tying. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Not to mention the states, right, they have these mobile units that are going around to events. So there's a lot of effort out there, and that's just to name a few little examples. So why not invest in those programs? So we created a program. Actually, it was part of our R3 committees. It was their brainchild to come up with a way to support funding or have funding. I don't know if you know this, but ASA has a foundation, and it's actually a pretty healthy foundation. And we do a lot in conservation, but this foundation was established to do not just conservation work, but it was also developed to be able to focus on research and participation. So it was a perfect landing place for us to create a program that would provide funding for retailer members of ASA, to create programs or to take their programs that they already have in existence and take them to the next level, make them more robust, maybe make them a regular event, a monthly event, create a training program. It could look all different depending on what it is. It could be a camp, So we wanted to have this amazing opportunity. I know it's hard, especially as an independent retailer, to maybe come up with something alone or try to kick up a plan to apply for a grant. That's got to be pretty challenging sometimes when you've got all these other things to deal with. But we really wanted to encourage people too to get together, work with their states. Part of the pilot programs that JD was describing that we're still going to do to kind of create some ideas and best practices on how this could work would require you to work with your state agency, to work with your local government, your park system, and come up with really cool and creative ways to do these events. So this grant program is coming soon. We'd actually love to just get a couple more best practices under our belt so we could describe the program a little bit better, and we'll see how that goes in the next coming weeks. We have an event hopefully in Virginia. It'll be in September that's rescheduled from June, where we're going to do a women's fly fishing event, bringing people who took a class out on the water to actually go fishing, because that's kind of the point, right? So that's coming soon. We would like to roll this out in the fall. The application is already built. When our partner and our chairman of the R3 committee, Dave Washburn, has built this through a platform that they have at MLF. So we're pretty ready to go. So I just wanted to kind of plant the seed. You all should have it's a one-pager, but it's two-sided. It has all the information on the grant program. Take that with you. Take a look. Talk amongst yourselves. Share it with friends. Think of ways you can partner. But we would love to have you apply. Again, this is just kind of the rough guidance on what it will involve, but we would love to have folks get really excited and think of ways that they can participate in the fall. I just want to say we have a whole team of people. This is my comms team plus Glenn at ASA working on this stuff all the time. We have a number of committees. We do an annual summit where these committees actually get into the work of the industry and talk about things like R3 and communications and awareness and all of that. So we would love for you to reach out to us at any time, to follow us on social media, to scan the QR code to get more information, and certainly would love it if you were to get together a grant proposal and apply this fall. So with that, I actually am due over at the Best of Show across the way over in the new product showcase. So I'm not going to be able to answer questions, but the panel will still be here to be able to answer some questions. So I'm going to sneak off, but if you would like to talk more about it, I would love to talk with you. Just come find me. There's my email. Come to our booth, number 1212. It's the ASA booth, and I'm happy to help as much as I can. And thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you soon, Mary Beth. So hopefully you come away from this Lunch and Learn motive. That throws me off every time. I'm like, who's trying to? You just blew right through it. You were amazing. It's like I can't talk now. Hopefully you're motivated to do something about the long-term sustainability of fishing in our country. I'm sure you didn't go into this business because you didn't have a passion for fishing at the end of the day. Maybe a few rare exceptions to that. But importantly, let's address this problem. We can work together. We're not alone in this. If nothing else, if you're in the industry, reach out to your state folks. If you don't know how to do that, come talk to me. Come talk to Mike. We can tell you how to speak, state speak, government speak, if you're interested. Shouldn't be interested. But importantly, how to connect with them in getting this done. And we definitely want to, we did get a little bit of a late start, so I think everybody that's left here is able to stick around a little bit for questions as well. But any questions from the audience? Yep, okay, let him get the mic to you since we're videoing all of these. And yeah, wait for it.
Hello. My question's for, I think it was for Mike at Virginia, fellow state employee here. Wondering if you do any local targeted outreach for your local resource specific fishing opportunities and what that looks like.
How about now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good. So we have, I'm very fortunate in Virginia that we have an entire outreach division. So a lot of the work that I presented today is a direct result of them help communicating fish biologists into marketing speak. So we regularly highlight not only individual fishing destinations that might be relevant to people. We get in the habit of doing releases when we do things like stocking. We provide fishing instruction. If you go onto our YouTube channel, I've got a day of guiding you through how to fish tidal bass on the Chickahominy River. And we also supplement that. So like a lot of states, we have free fishing weekends, so 3 days. And we actually lead workshops on those days. I get to participate in those every year. It's great. I think I ruined one young man's life by showing him how to fish a Senko, and he caught a fish, and I could see the look of terror on his mom's face, what that was about to do. And I told him that was his fish, so it's his fish. But we supplement that with those in-person workshops because we recognize that, you know, we talk about when people get introduced to fishing. We run into a lot of people that don't have a traditional fishing background that just need that bump over it. And to further it, you know, the magic words are, if you come to one of our fishing workshops and ask me where to buy tackle, I usually give you a rod and a reel and a little bit of tackle to get you started and make you promise to buy a fishing license. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that, and I think we've made some lifelong anglers doing that.
Yeah. And if you're a retailer or manufacturer, what I would hear is, oh, free marketing opportunities, working with my state agency folks. And boy, if I could put my brand on that equipment that goes in their hand, maybe that develops a long-term customer for me. So lots of opportunities for the private sector there. Other questions? Anybody? Yes, right here. Let's get the mic.
Hi, have you noticed a difference in the marketing approach to attract women to the sport versus men?
Yeah, you want to talk about that stuff?
Sure. Is this on? Yes. Okay. Yes and no. As Betty knows, and I'll share with all of you, we have been running a campaign to get more women into fishing. We did some research that showed some really incredible insights about the value that women gain from fishing. And, you know, everyone wants to catch a fish, but for women, there's a lot more to it. I would like to think that effort has inspired some other brands to go down that route as well. I mean, certainly there's an opportunity for more folks to get on board here in the industry, but we have started to see a shift from what was a more traditional, you know, woman riding along on the fishing trip, just there for the fun, to being more involved and more of a serious angler. So yes, there's been some progress, but there's a huge opportunity for more. Yeah.
You know, 81% male anglers in Virginia still. So the big opportunity is the one that makes a lot of the decisions in the household about how money gets spent and where the kids are going to go in their spare time, reaching that person to get them, that mom, that woman, into fishing as well. So it's sometimes it's subtle things like making sure your ICAST logo incorporates a female angler in it, which wasn't happening 4 or 5 years ago, right? So, other questions? Well, yeah.
Can y'all hear me? Yeah. I have another infographic up here on the table if you're interested to the special report on fishing. That's the one with all the demographic breakdowns and the year-over-year trends. I wasn't able to hand out 3 documents at once, so if you want that, come on and grab it, or you can just scan the QR code on it as well. It'll open the report up.
Yeah, and if you're a more private person and want to come ask your question of one of us after we adjourn, feel free to come up. But let's be sure to give our amazing panel a hand for great presentations today. Thank you, and go burn the churn.